Hey everyone, welcome to our Engineering 6 final project.
We chose to do a dice game, more specifically street dice. My name is Caden.
My name's Alan.
And I'm Nathan.
Okay, so when you see the first screen, you can select the rules, and if you want, you can pause the video to read through the rules of the game. Select your player, and then here we're gonna look through the components. We have the quit button, the roll button. We have the enter bet amount numeric field, the bet button, the yes or no match button, the pot value numeric field, the two dice images, and then we have two UI tables. One is the P1 score and P2 score, and the other one would be P1 money and P2 money.
Now we're going to show you guys how to actually play the game. I'll be player 1.
And I'll be player 2.
We start by running app 2, and then I'll select player 1. Then we run app 2 again.
And I'll select player 2.
Okay, I'll start by making a bet. I'll just make a $100 bet.
And I'm actually going to say no to this bet. So I say no. So that means player 1 gets his money back. And I don't put my money in the pot.
So now the P1 shooter value should still be 1, and I should still be the shooter. I'll make a $150 bet this time.
And this time I accept the bet.
Okay, the pot's been updated. It's now 300. So that means I can roll and try to win the money. Okay, so in this case, I rolled an 11, which is a winning value, and now my P1 money score went up to 650, and player two's money value went down to 350 because he lost. Now it's player's 2 turn to roll.
Right. So now I start the turn by making a bet. I'll just bet $100. So I'm the shooter now.
Okay, the bet's been made, and I'll say yes to the bet. Okay, now the pot value is 200, and now player 2 can roll.
So I rolled a 10, and that's neither a winning nor a losing value. So I have to roll again, as you can see in the message box. So this time I rolled a 7, which means I win. And you can see in the money table that my money updated.
So you can probably tell that this game will loop over and over again with both players betting and losing money. And this game should be in a continuous loop. Now we'll move on.
Okay, now so I'll show a losing condition for player one, and this will occur if he bets a larger sum of money than he currently has. So now he'd be prompted that he lost, and it should automatically close that window. And going over to player two's perspective, it'll display that he won, and it should automatically close that as well. Okay, now it'll be showing the second lose condition, and that'll be the quit button. So each player has the option to quit whenever they want, as they have the freedom to do so, and it could be for any reason. One being they lost too much money, and it'll prompt that he lost, and it should close automatically. And then moving from players two's perspective, it will just display that he won, and then also be prompted to close the application.
Here's the code for app 2, aka the startup app. In the startup function, app.label is off. That's just the rules. For the player 1 button pushed, we just initialize player num to 1, and then we send player num over to app 1, and then we delete the app UI figure, which is just the app, and it'll load up the app number 1. Player button 2 does the same thing, sets player num to equal to 2 and sends that data over.
So and on that screen, we have a rules button. The user can simply push that button, and then they have access to all the rules of the game if they don't know how to play. And then once they push that, then they have access to a return to home button, which does exactly what it says. It returns the user to home. Okay, so here's the actual code for our game.
So here are all the functions that I did. This function updates the UI tables every time you roll and bet.
So originally, I was in charge of coding the aesthetics and overall the functionality of the dice regarding its functionality and also just the audio regarding it. And a lot of the code had to get scrapped because it wouldn't work for the specific app, and that was just being able to move the dice within axis randomly. And then also, we had a for loop for it. We had to have the sound repeat within. But for in this case, I just had to improvise and use a switch case. And that would just take the input, was in this case be like P1 dice, 1, and whatever number it has, it would go to that case and then display that image.
Here's a function for the win-lose conditions. All it does is that it reads every time that the winner variable is either 0, 1, or 2, and that corresponds to if player 1 or player 2 wins or loses. Here's a roll button. So first we start off by displaying the dices and the dice animation. We also have the roll button sound callback right here, or function. Right here, we do some ThinkSpeak reads to just get the shooter values and pot value edit, the pot value edit field values. Here's the actual function for determining the score of player 1. We have a if statement on top with player num, and we also have an if statement, nested if statement for P1 shooter. P1 dice 1 is just a Randy, same with P2 dice 2. It adds it up and sends the data over to ThinkSpeak. And it's pretty much the same for player num 2. It determines the player number and player shooter. Here's a bet button callback. Every time it's pressed, we do some ThinkSpeak reads for the P1 money, P2 money, and the shooter values. This determines like the actual bet amount that either player did, depending on if you're the shooter or not. And then it just sends that data over to ThinkSpeak. Here's a yes button to match the bet. Basically, it just sets the pot value to be twice the player bets. And then we call the function for the update tables for this. Here's a no button callback. All it does is that, again, it reads data from ThinkSpeak, and if either player 1 or player 2 isn't the shooter, you're able to say no to the bet.
And here's our startup function. These are um, the initial values of everything. You can see, for example, that we pull player num from app2 right here. And then we also initialize each player's money to 500 right here. And then we also have the quit button here. So whichever player presses the quit button naturally just loses, while the other player wins. And as far as the roll button, so um, here's how we integrated the rules of the game. So if P1 rolls a 7 or 11, um, they win. Or if P1 is a shooter and they roll a 7 or 11, they win. And as you can see here, uh, the pot value is added to their money and then reset to 0. And the same thing goes for player 2, as you can see here. Everything's identical except the variables are slightly different because it's P2.
And then this is an example of my coding for the audio regarding the audio. This is just in the startup function, so we could preload the audio, make it more seamless. And it's right here.
Thank you guys so much for watching.